at a lavish Las Vegas wedding. She never expected her young son's kindness to a crying child would expose a devastating secret. The child's father was the same ruthless man who once shattered her heart and abandoned her when she needed him most. But when past pain collides with present power and love tangles with betrayal, will she find healing in the arms of a millionaire CEO or lose everything all over again? Before I begin the story, I'd like to say a quick prayer for you, my dear family. May your days be filled with peace, your heart with joy, and your steps guided by light. Amen. If you're happy to be here, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss a story. The chandeliers dripped with crystal brilliance, scattering fragments of light across the ballroom of the Grand Marquis Hotel in Las Vegas. Laughter, champagne flutes, and the clink of cutlery danced together in a chorus of wealth and excess. It was a kind of wedding only the richest could afford, a dazzling spectacle where even the flowers imported from Holland looked too extravagant to be real. Amid the swirl of gowns and tailored tuxedos, Selena Carter walked quietly, her hand resting lightly on the shoulder of her 7-year-old son, Daniel. She hadn't planned on being here tonight. An old college friend had insisted, practically begged her to attend, and Selena, ever cautious, ever hesitant about stepping into worlds like this, had finally agreed. Her dress was simple compared to the glittering fashion around her. Where others wore jewels, she wore only a silver pendant, a keepsake from her late mother. She told herself she was here for the experience, nothing more. Yet, as she guided Daniel through the sea of strangers, she couldn't shake the tension in her chest, as though fate had lured her here for something she wasn't ready to face. It happened just as the band struck up another lively tune. Near the dessert table, a small girl sat on the floor, her white shoes scuffed, tears streaking down her cheeks. She couldn't have been older than 6. Daniel tugged at Selena's dress. "Mom, she's crying." Selena crouched down immediately, her instinct stronger than her hesitation. "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" she asked softly, brushing a stray curl from the girl's face. The child hiccuped through her tears. "I lost my daddy. He was right here. And then he wasn't." Selena's heart clenched. She offered her handkerchief, dabbing the child's wet cheeks. Daniel, shy but kind, offered his toy car to distract her. The girl sniffled, taking it with a fragile smile. "See," Daniel said, "it's magic. It always makes me feel better." For a moment, Selena forgot the glittering chaos around her. It was just her son, and this little girl who needed comfort. She wrapped the girl in her arms, whispering soothing words. And then a deep voice cut through the noise, strong, commanding, laced with urgency. "Sophia." Selena rose slowly, turning toward the sound. The man striding through the crowd drew every eye without trying. Broad-shouldered, dressed in an impeccably cut black suit. His presence carried an authority that silenced idle chatter around him. He stopped when he saw his daughter cradled against Selena's chest. Relief washed across his otherwise composed face as he crouched to the little girl's level. "Sophia, sweetheart, I was just speaking with someone. You can't wander off like that." The girl buried her face against Selena's dress. "I was scared, Daddy. I didn't see you." For the briefest moment, something flickered in the man's expression. Guilt, maybe even sorrow. But when he looked at Selena, the guarded mask returned. "Thank you," he said, his voice rich, formal, controlled, "for taking care of my daughter." Selena held his gaze. His eyes were the kind that unnerved you, dark and tense, like he could see past every barrier you built around yourself. For a second, she forgot how to breathe. "It was nothing," she murmured, though her heart was racing. The man extended his hand. "Adrian Blackwell." She hesitated, then accepted his firm grip. His hand was warm, strong, commanding. "Selena Carter," she replied, her voice quieter than she intended. Adrian's gaze flicked briefly to Daniel, who was watching carefully. and you must be her protector. Daniel grinned shyly. I'm Daniel, and Sophia likes my car. For the first time, Adrian's lips curved into the faintest smile, a smile that made Selena's chest tighten in a way she hadn't expected. The moment fractured when another voice cut through the music. Well, look who fate has dragged back into my world. Selena froze. She would have recognized that voice anywhere, no matter how many years had passed. Slowly she turned. There he was, Marcus Hale, the man who had once promised her forever, the man who had abandoned her when she needed him most, the man who had left her broken, carrying a child in her womb, with nothing but silence where his love should have been. Marcus stood with a glass of champagne in his hand, his smile sharp and predatory. His eyes lingered on Daniel just a little too long. Selena's throat tightened. Memories came rushing back, the pleading, the nights she cried alone, the betrayal that had nearly destroyed her spirit. Adrian, sensing the sudden shift in atmosphere, looked between them. You know each other? Marcus chuckled, tilting his head with cruel amusement. Oh, we know each other very well. Don't we, Selena? Selena swallowed hard, forcing herself to stand taller even as her knees threatened to buckle. Daniel slipped his hand into hers protectively, sensing his mother's unease. The glittering ballroom suddenly felt colder, the weight of her past pressing heavily against the fragile moment she had just shared with Adrian and Sophia. Selena wanted to run, but Adrian's steady presence beside her anchored her in place. His eyes sharpened, watching Marcus with a measured suspicion. Yes, Selena said finally, her voice low but steady. We knew each other once. Marcus smirked. More than once, Starling. Don't undersell it. His gaze flicked to Daniel again, a cruel curiosity lingering in his expression. Selena's pulse hammered. She wanted to shield her son, to drag him out of the room, away from Marcus's poisonous gaze. But she couldn't move. Not yet. Adrian's jaw tightened, his hand resting lightly on Sophia's shoulder. He didn't speak, but his silence was heavy, commanding, protective. The air between them vibrated with tension, old wounds colliding with new beginnings, past betrayal brushing against the possibility of something different. Selena felt trapped between two forces, the ghost of the man who had destroyed her, and the quiet storm of the man whose daughter she had just comforted. And somewhere deep inside, she knew this was only the beginning. The ballroom's music swelled, violins weaving through the chatter and laughter of the guests. But to Selena, the sound was muffled, distant. All she could hear was the pounding of her own heart. Marcus's eyes bore into her, a predator savoring his advantage. He lifted his glass lazily, as though mocking her discomfort. You look well, he said, his tone dripping with false charm. Better than I expected after all these years. Selena's lips parted, but no words came. Memories swarmed her. The night he walked out, the unanswered calls, the silence that followed. Daniel's small hand tightened around hers, and she drew strength from that simple grip. Excuse me, Adrian's voice cut through, low and edged with steel. His gaze was steady on Marcus, protective in a way that startled Selena. You are? Marcus gave him a sly smile. Marcus Hale, old history. He took a deliberate sip of champagne, letting the tension hang. And you are? Adrian Blackwell, Adrian said simply, his name carrying weight like a signature on a fortune. Marcus's brow arched, recognition flickering. Ah, the Blackwell Empire. Of course. His smirk widened as his eyes shifted back to Selena. Interesting company you keep these days. Selena forced her voice to steady. We should go, Daniel. But Marcus stepped subtly into her path, his smirk curdling into something sharper. Running against Selena? That's your specialty, isn't it? The sight of him standing there pulled her backward in time, to the night that changed everything. It had been raining, heavy and unrelenting. She remembered standing in Marcus's penthouse, clutching the hem of her dress, tears streaking her face as she whispered the words that should have bound them closer. "I'm pregnant." She had expected shock, perhaps even fear. What she hadn't expected was the coldness that hardened his features. "This isn't the right time," he had said, his voice sharp. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under. My father." "Your father?" "Marcus, this is our child." Her voice had cracked with desperation, but he had turned away, pouring himself another drink. "I can't do this. Not now. Not with you." The memory still burned like acid in her chest. He had walked out that night and never looked back. She had raised Daniel on her own, carrying both the pain of betrayal and the fierce pride of survival. And now here he was, smirking as if none of it had ever happened. Enough. Adrian's voice was like the crack of a whip, pulling Selena out of the past. His eyes locked on Marcus, sharp and unyielding. "You're upsetting her. Step aside." Marcus's smirk faltered for the briefest moment, replaced by a flash of irritation. But he recovered quickly, masking it with a mocking laugh. "Protective, aren't we? You barely know her." Adrian's jaw clenched. "I know enough." Selena's breath caught at the certainty in his tone. It wasn't pity she heard, it was something steadier, something that felt dangerously close to belief. Marcus leaned closer, lowering his voice just enough for only the three of them to hear. "Careful, Blackwell. She has a past when you might not want to attach your empire to." Selena stiffened. Daniel pressed against her leg, his eyes wide with unease. Before Adrian could respond, Sophia tugged at his sleeve, her small voice trembling. "Daddy, I want to go home." Adrian glanced down at his daughter, then back at Marcus. His silence was a warning, heavy as thunder. He placed a hand lightly on Selena's back, guiding her and the children away. For the first time in years, Selena felt something unfamiliar yet powerful. Safety. They slipped out of the main ballroom into a quieter corridor lined with gilded mirrors. Selena exhaled shakily, the weight of Marcus's presence still pressing on her. "Are you all right?" Adrian asked. Selena shook her head. "No, but I will be." Daniel tugged at her hand. "Mom, who was that man?" Selena's throat tightened. How could she explain to her son that the man he just saw was the father who had never claimed him? "Just someone from a long time ago," she said softly, brushing his hair back. Adrian studied her closely, his dark eyes searching hers. He didn't press, though she could sense the questions burning in him. Instead, he offered something unexpected. Space. "If you'd prefer, I can have someone escort him out," Adrian said. His tone was calm, but there was steel beneath it. Selena blinked. The offer wasn't businesslike. It was personal, protective, and that unsettled her more than Marcus's cruelty. "You don't have to." "I want to," Adrian interrupted gently, though his jaw remained tight. "No one has the right to treat you like that." Her chest ached. It had been years since anyone had stood on her side without condition, without judgment. "Thank you," she whispered. Adrian nodded once, and for a fleeting moment, something unspoken passed between them, a flicker of trust forming in the shadows of her broken history. Back in the ballroom, Marcus watched them disappear down the corridor, his smirk fading into a hardened scowl. He swirled the champagne in his glass, his jaw tightening. "So, Selena, still playing the innocent." His gaze darkened as he muttered under his breath, "Let's see how long that lasts when truths come to light." From across the room, his father, Richard Hale Sr., patriarch of the Hale fortune, caught Marcus's eye. The older man's expression was one of cold expectation, a silent reminder of the power games their family had always played. Marcus set his glass down with deliberate calm. He had unfinished business, and this time he wouldn't let Selena walk away so easily. Later that evening, Selena stood by the hotel balcony. the city of Las Vegas sprawling beneath her in glittering neon. Daniel had fallen asleep against her shoulder, his small breaths steady and warm. But inside, Selena was unraveling. Seeing Marcus again had ripped open wounds she thought had healed. Yet standing beside Adrian, feeling his quiet strength, seeing the way he shielded not only his daughter, but her as well, had sparked something dangerous. Hope. And hope, she knew, could be the cruelest thing of all. As she gazed out at the city, a storm churned inside her. Fate had forced their paths to cross again. Hers, Adrian's, and Marcus's. And deep down, Selena sensed that the night was only the prologue to something far more complicated. Something she might not survive unscathed. Selena barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, Marcus's voice echoed back, cold, sharp, dismissive. I can't do this. Not now. Not with you. She shifted in the plush hotel bed, brushing Daniel's hair where he lay curled against her. His innocence was her anchor. She couldn't let Marcus disturb the life she had built, fragile though it was. But it wasn't just Marcus haunting her thoughts. It was Adrian too. The way he had stepped in, not with arrogance, but with quiet, commanding certainty. No man had stood for her like that in years. It unsettled her. It tempted her. Somewhere down the hall, she knew Adrian was awake too. Powerful men rarely slept easily, especially with the weight of an empire and a daughter who clung to him, as though he were her entire world. The next morning, Selena stepped out her suite, Daniel tugging at her hand. His small suit from the night before was wrinkled, his hair sticking up adorably. "Mom, can we have pancakes?" he asked, his eyes hopeful. Her lips curved despite her exhaustion. "If the hotel restaurant has them, then yes." As they walked toward the elevator, the doors slid open, and there stood Adrian, with Sophia in tow. She clutched a stuffed bunny and blinked sleepily. "Pancakes," Sophia murmured, almost dreamlike. Daniel's eyes lit up. "See, Mom? Pancakes are destiny." Adrian's mouth quirked into something that almost resembled a smile. "Seems breakfast is decided." The four of them ended up seated together in a quiet corner of the restaurant. Selena felt awkward at first, her every nerve on edge. But as Daniel and Sophia began whispering and giggling over syrup and whipped cream, a strange warmth settled over the table. For a moment it looked like a family. "Do you often attend weddings with your son?" Adrian asked casually, sipping his coffee. Selena arched her brow. "Do you often attend them with a storm cloud over your head?" His lips twitched, but he didn't deny it. Instead, his gaze flicked to Sophia, who was laughing at something Daniel had said. A softness passed over his features, so brief Selena might have imagined it. "She's all I have," Adrian said quietly, almost himself. Selena's chest tightened. She had expected him to be all steel and business, yet here was a fracture in the armor, a glimpse of the man beneath the empire. "I understand," she murmured. "Raising a child alone, it changes everything." His eyes snapped to hers, sharp but searching. "So you do know?" It wasn't a question. It was recognition. Selena swallowed hard, her pulse racing. She hadn't told him anything about Marcus, about Daniel's father. But Adrian, somehow, understood without the details. For a long moment, they simply held each other's gaze. And something unspoken, fragile and dangerous, passed between them. Elsewhere at the hotel, Marcus leaned against the bar, swirling a glass of scotch, though it was barely past 9 in the morning. His father's voice replayed in his mind from the night before. "You've always been reckless, Marcus. Weakness is unacceptable in this family." Weakness. That was what they called it when he walked away from Selena, when he ran from responsibility. But seeing her now, radiant even in her defiance, holding Daniel close, standing beside Adrian Blackwell of all people, stirred something ugly inside him. He wanted her back, not out of love, not even out of regret, but out of a bitter refusal to lose, especially not to Adrian. Marcus pulled out his phone, dialing a number with deliberate precision. "Keep an eye on them," he ordered the voice on the other end. "I want to know everything. Where they go, who she speaks to, everything." This wasn't over. Later that day, Selena found herself walking through the hotel's rooftop garden, the children skipping ahead, chasing butterflies among the flowers. Adrian strolled beside her, hands in his pockets, his presence both steadying and unnerving. "Marcus won't give up easily," Adrian said suddenly. Her head whipped toward him. "What makes you say that?" He shrugged slightly, though his eyes stayed fixed on the horizon. "Men like him, they hate losing. And last night, he looked like a man who just realized he's already lost." Selena's breath caught. "Lost what?" Adrian finally looked at her, and the intensity in his gaze nearly stole her voice. "You." Heat rushed her cheeks, and she quickly looked away. "You don't even know me." "Not yet," he said softly, "but I intend to." That night, Selena tucked Daniel into bed, his little body curling into the blankets. She kissed his forehead, whispering a promise she wasn't sure she could keep. "You're safe. I'll protect you. Always." In the suite across the hall, Adrian stood at his window, staring out at the city lights. Sophia slept soundly in the next room, but his mind was restless. Selena. She wasn't like anyone he had met in his world of contracts, mergers, and shallow smiles. She was fire and fragility all at once, and he was already in dangerous territory. Because Adrian Blackwell did not allow himself to need anyone, not since the day his wife had walked away, leaving him with a newborn child and a heart that learned to beat behind iron walls. But something about Selena made the cracks widen, and he feared that Marcus was right about one thing. This was only the beginning. Selena woke the next morning to find an envelope slipped under her door. The heavy cream paper was embossed with gold lettering. Her name, written in Marcus's unmistakable handwriting. Her stomach twisted even before she opened it. "Selena, I believe we left many things unsaid. Meet me tonight. Suite 2705. Alone. M." She crumpled the note in her fist, but the damage was already done. Marcus wasn't retreating. He was circling. Daniel stirred in his bed, rubbing his sleepy eyes. "Mom, is something wrong?" Selena forced a smile. "Nothing you need to worry about, sweetheart." But inside, dread coiled tighter. Later that morning, Adrian spotted Selena by the hotel's glass elevators. She looked pale, distracted, as though her thoughts weighed more than the city itself. "Selena," he said softly. She startled, then gave a thin smile. "Adrian, good morning." He studied her face, reading the tension etched in her expression. "Something's wrong." She shook her head too quickly. "It's fine." "Really?" Adrian stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Don't lie to me. I built my entire life on spotting deception. Tell me what happened." Her fingers tightened around the strap of her handbag. She wanted to tell him about the note, about Marcus's demand, but she also feared dragging Adrian deeper into her storm. "I can handle it," she whispered instead. His jaw tightened. "Maybe, but you don't have to handle it alone." That evening, as the gala dinner resumed in the grand ballroom, Selena tried to keep her focus on Daniel, who sat beside Sophia, both children giggling over mocktails served in fancy glasses. But her nerves prickled with every glance across the room. Marcus was there, watching her, always watching. He lifted his glass in a mocking toast, a silent reminder of the note she had ignored. When she looked away, she realized something else. Guests at nearby tables were staring at her too, whispering, pointing subtly in her direction. Her pulse quickened. Something was wrong. Moments later, Adrian appeared at her side, his expression dark. He handed her his phone without a word. On the screen was a gossip blog, a photo grainy but clear enough. Selena entering Adrian's suite late at night. Headline: Blackwell's mystery woman, single mother or gold digger? Selena's blood ran cold. That's not true. I never. I know, Adrian said, his voice clipped, controlled fury beneath it. But someone wants it to look true. Her gaze darted across the room, landing on Marcus. He was smirking, glass raised in triumph. The trap had been set. Within minutes, phones buzzed across the ballroom as more guests pulled up the story. Selena could feel the weight of their stares pressing into her skin. Whispers swirled. She's after his money. Blackwell should know better. Look at her, pretending to be refined. Daniel's voice broke her spiraling thoughts. Mom, why is everyone looking at you? Her throat tightened painfully. She forced a steady smile for her son's sake. Don't worry, sweetheart. But inside, humiliation burned. Marcus had always known where to strike, not at her directly, but at her dignity, at her ability to protect her child. Adrian's hand touched her elbow, grounding her. His gaze swept the room, cold and commanding. Ignore them. Their opinions mean nothing. But she could see it in his eyes, fury, not at her, at Marcus. Adrian led her out of the ballroom, into a quiet hallway lined with oil paintings. This is how he operates, Adrian said, his voice low but lethal. Discredit, undermine, corner. Selena's chest ached. He hasn't changed. He'll keep coming until he destroys everything. Adrian's hand curled into a fist. Not if I destroy him first. Her eyes widened. Adrian. He turned to her, his face closer than it had ever been. Selena, I need you to trust me. Whatever he throws at you, I'll be there to counter it. But you have to stop running from me. She swallowed hard, torn between fear and a dangerous pull toward him. Why, she whispered. Why would you fight for me? You barely know me. His voice softened, but his eyes never wavered. Because I know what it feels like to be abandoned, to be left to pick up the pieces alone. And I won't stand by and watch it happen to you. The raw honesty in his tone undid something inside her. For the first time in years, she felt the fragile spark of being seen, truly seen. But before she could speak, a voice slithered from the shadows. Well, isn't this cozy? They spun. Marcus stood there, arms folded, a viper's smile on his lips. Careful, Adrian. Marcus drawled, stepping closer. She has a way of making men believe they're her savior. Ask me how I know. Adrian's shoulders stiffened, but he didn't rise to the bait. You should leave. Marcus chuckled darkly. Not until I get what's mine. His gaze locked on Selena. Daniel is my son. You kept him from me, and I will not let that continue. Selena's breath caught, her whole body trembling. He was playing his final card. The one truth she had prayed would never be used as a weapon. Adrian's head snapped toward her, his eyes flashing with shock and something else. Something raw. Selena's voice cracked. Marcus, don't. But Marcus only smiled, savoring the chaos. The trap had closed. For a heartbeat. The hotel corridor fell utterly silent. Adrian stared at Selena, the controlled calm that usually defined him shattered by disbelief. Daniel is his? His voice was low, but it carried the weight of betrayal. Selena's lips parted, words failing her. She wanted to explain, to tell him everything. But shame pinned her tongue. Marcus smirked, enjoying every flicker of pain across her face. Yes, Adrian. Daniel is my son, conceived in love, raised in lies. Selena's chest tightened as tears threatened. That's not fair, Marcus. You know why? But Adrian raised a hand, silencing her, his eyes dark with something unnameable. Adrian, please, Selena whispered, stepping toward him. I didn't want it to come out like this. I wasn't hiding Daniel from the world. I was protecting him from this. Her trembling hand gestured at Marcus, whose grin widened like a wolf, scenting blood. Adrian's jaw worked, torn between reason and the gut punch of discovery. He had let himself begin to trust her, to believe her fragility wasn't weaponized. But now, why didn't you tell me? His voice cracked at the edges, more vulnerable than she'd ever heard it. Selena's tears slipped free. Because I thought if you knew, you'd walk away. Everyone always does. Her honesty pierced through the air, raw and desperate. But Marcus ruined the moment with a scoff. She's good, isn't she? Marcus sneered. Always the victim. Always spinning her sob stories until men line up to rescue her. He stepped closer, voice sharp. But that ends now. I'm Daniel's father. I have rights, and I'll drag this through every courtroom in Nevada if I have to. Selena's blood ran cold. You wouldn't dare? Oh, I would. His eyes glittered cruelly. Because unlike you, Selena, I can give Daniel the life he deserves. No more shabby apartments. No more secondhand toys. With me, he'll have everything. Her heart twisted painfully. He doesn't need things, Marcus. He needs love, stability, safety. Things you can't buy with your money. Adrian finally spoke, voice edged like steel. Daniel doesn't need a father who uses him as a weapon. Marcus's smirk faltered for the first time. Still, Adrian turned back to Selena, his eyes searching hers. Why didn't you tell me the truth before? You let me believe Daniel was just your son. You let me, his voice trailed, but the unspoken words hung heavy between them. You let me care. Selena's throat burned. Because I was afraid you'd see me the way everyone else does. As someone broken, as baggage. Her confession hung fragile in the air, but Marcus seized a chance to twist the knife. She's not afraid, Adrian. She's calculated. She hid him from me for years, and now she hides behind you. She'll bleed you dry, just like she bled me. Adrian's hands clenched at his sides, caught between instinct and logic. Every part of him wanted to defend her, but Marcus's venom had planted its seed. At that moment, Daniel rounded the corner, clutching Sophia's hand. His small voice broke the tension. Mom, why are you crying? Selena knelt quickly, wiping her tears and forcing a smile. It's nothing, sweetheart. Just grown-up stuff. But Daniel's gaze shifted nervously between the men towering over him. Why are you fighting? Marcus crouched, plastering on false warmth. I'm not fighting, son. I'm just telling the truth. I'm your father. Daniel blinked, confused. He looked to Selena, who froze under the weight of his innocent eyes. Mom, he whispered. Is that true? Selena's heart broke. She pulled him into her arms. Yes, baby. He's your father. But that doesn't change who you are or who loves you. You're my everything. Daniel's lip trembled, his world tilting on its axis. Then why wasn't he here before? Marcus's gaze hardened, and Selena shot him a warning glare. That's a story for another time, she whispered fiercely. Later, when Selena walked Daniel back to their suite, Adrian remained in the corridor with Marcus. The silence was taut, bristling. You see, Marcus said, straightening his tie. She's been lying for years. And you, Blackwell, you're just her newest pawn. Adrian's eyes narrowed, but doubt flickered at the edges. You may be ruthless in business, Marcus, Adrian said coldly. But using your own son as leverage? That's a line even I won't cross. Marcus smirked again. You'll understand soon enough. No man survives or games. Not even you. He walked away, leaving Adrian alone in the dim hallway, shadows curling around his turmoil. Back in her suite, Selena tucked Daniel into bed. He clung to her tightly, whispering, Don't let him take me away, Mom. Please. Her chest ached as she kissed his forehead. I promise, baby. No one will take you from me. But when he finally fell asleep, her facade crumbled. She sat on the edge of the bed, silent sobs racking her body. Everything she had built, her fragile peace, her protective walls, was cracking. Marcus was dragging her past into the present. And now Adrian had seen her at her most exposed. She feared she had lost him too. Hours later, There was a knock at her door. She opened it to find Adrian standing there, shadows under his eyes. He didn't speak right away, just studied her face, the tear-stained cheeks, the exhaustion in her gaze. Finally, he said quietly, "I don't care what Marcus claims, but I need you to be honest with me. Completely. No more secrets, Selena. If I'm going to stand by you, I need the whole truth." Her heart thundered. This was the moment, the line between salvation and collapse. She swallowed hard, lifted her chin, and whispered, "Then sit down. I'll tell you everything." The truth was about to unravel. Selena's hands shook as she poured tea into 2 cups, though neither of them drank. The steam curled upward, fragile wisps fading into the heavy silence of the suite. Adrian sat across from her, posture straight, jaw set. He looked every bit the untouchable CEO, yet his eyes, dark, restless, betrayed the storm within. Selena clasped her hands together. "You deserve to know everything. No games. No hiding." Adrian gave a single sharp nod. "Then tell me, who exactly is Marcus to you?" Her throat constricted. "He was my first love." Adrian's expression didn't change, but she felt the air tighten. Her voice was soft, almost detached, as though narrating someone else's tragedy. "I met Marcus when I was barely out of college. He was older, charming, ambitious. He knew how to make me feel like the only woman in the room. Back then, that was all I wanted, to be seen, to be chosen." Her eyes glistened as she continued. "He promised me the world, Adrian. Marriage, family, forever. I believed him. I trusted him with everything I had." Adrian's gaze flicked to her trembling hands. He wanted to reach for them, but restrained himself, letting her speak. Selena's voice cracked as she pressed on. "But once he had me, everything changed. The charm turned into control. The promises into orders. He wanted to own me, not love me." Her chest heaved as memories clawed their way back. "The worst part? When I got pregnant with Daniel, Marcus said it was a mistake, that he wasn't ready to be tied down. He wanted me to end it. And when I refused, she wiped furiously at her tears. He left. No explanation. No goodbye. Just gone." Adrian's fists curled tightly on his knees, rage burning in his chest. "And he dares to call himself a father now." His voice was like steel bent to breaking. Selena nodded, her tears spilling freely. "I was 22. Alone. Broke. My family wanted nothing to do with me because of him. I had no one. Just Daniel." The silence that followed was heavy, but not empty. Adrian stood, crossing the room, before she could retreat into shame. He crouched in front of her chair, forcing her to meet his gaze. "You are the strongest woman I've ever met." His voice was low, steady, sincere. "Do you know what it takes to raise a child alone? To survive when the world turns its back? You did that. Not Marcus. You." Her breath hitched, his words striking a place in her she had long buried. "You think I'll judge you," Adrian continued. "But all I see is a woman who fought for her son when no one else would." Selena broke, covering her mouth as sobs escaped. And for the first time, she didn't cry alone. Adrian's arms wrapped around her, steady and unyielding. She leaned against him, her tears soaking into his shirt. But instead of pulling away, Adrian held her closer, his hand resting gently against the back of her head. The walls between them, carefully constructed from years of mistrust and solitude, cracked under the weight of shared truth. When her sobs subsided, she lifted her face. His eyes searched hers not with pity, but with something warmer, stronger. Their lips hovered dangerously close, until she pulled back, shaking her head. "I can't," she whispered. "Not when Marcus is lurking. Not when Daniel's future hangs in the balance." Adrian's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "Then let me handle Marcus." Her eyes widened. "Adrian, oh, you don't understand how ruthless he is." "Oh, I understand," Adrian interrupted, his voice edged with quiet fury. But he's about to understand something too. He doesn't get to use you. Or Daniel. Not anymore. The next morning, Selena thought she might have found a sliver of peace. But peace was a luxury Marcus would never allow. When she descended into the hotel lobby, whispers followed her again. Guests glanced at their phones, then at her, with poorly concealed smirks. Her stomach sank. Another headline. Another knife to her reputation. This time, the headline screamed, Blackwell CEO rival claims single mother hid his son for years. Beneath it, a photo of Daniel, blurred but still recognizable, leaving the ballroom with Selena. Her blood went cold. He used Daniel. Adrian appeared at her side, his face carved from fury. He took the phone from her trembling hand, scanned the headline, then muttered something that sounded less like words and more like a vow. Marcus had crossed the line. That evening, Adrian called an emergency meeting in one of the hotel's private lounges. Selena sat beside him, while Marcus lounged across from them like a cat with cream. You dragged a child into this, Adrian said, voice sharp as glass. That ends now. Marcus smirked. What? People have the right to know the truth. My son deserves recognition. Selena's fist trembled. You don't care about Daniel. You only care about humiliating me. Marcus leaned forward, his smile venomous. Correction, Selena. I care about winning. And right now I hold all the cards. Adrian's gaze darkened. Not for long. Marcus chuckled, unfazed. We'll see. The battle lines had been drawn. Later, in the quiet of her suite, Selena watched Daniel sleep, his small chest rising and falling peacefully. Adrian stood beside her, hands in his pockets. We'll fight him, he said softly, and we'll win. Selena turned, her voice breaking. Why are you doing this, Adrian? You don't owe me anything. He met her gaze with quiet intensity. Because you're not the only one who's been abandoned. I know what it's like to grow up waiting for someone who never comes back. I won't let Daniel live that story. Not if I can help it. Her chest ached, torn between gratitude and the dangerous stirrings of something deeper. For the first time in years, Selena felt a fragile spark of hope. But hope was dangerous, especially with Marcus circling, waiting to strike again. The knock at the door came early, sharp, and insistent. Selena froze, clutching Daniel's breakfast plate. Adrian answered, his expression darkening as a suited man handed him an envelope. Delivery for Ms. Selena Hayes. The moment she saw the stamp, her stomach dropped. Legal documents. Her fingers trembled as she tore it open. The words swam before her eyes. Petition for custody. Marcus Everett versus Selena Hayes. Her chest tightened until she could barely breathe. No, he wouldn't. Adrian caught her arm as she swayed. Selena, look at me. Tears welled, spilling down her cheeks. He's tried to take Daniel. Adrian skimmed the document, his jaw hardening with every line. He's claiming neglect, that you've kept Daniel from his father unjustly, that you don't have the stability to provide for him long term. Selena's heart cracked. He's using the years he abandoned us against me. Adrian's gaze burned with fury. He lifted her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. Listen to me. Daniel will not be taken from you. Not while I'm breathing. She wanted to believe him. Needed to. But fear gnawed at her insides. Later that day, the three of them were called to a mediation meeting in one of the hotel's legal suites. Selena clutched Daniel's hand, while Adrian walked protectively at her side. Marcus was already there, flanked by two attorneys in expensive suits. He rose smoothly, wearing the expression of a wronged father. Selena, he said silkily, it's not too late to do the right thing. Let Daniel come with me. I can give him everything you can't. Selena stiffened. You had your chance, Marcus. You walked away. He gave a wounded sigh, turning to the mediator. She exaggerates. I left because I wasn't informed about the pregnancy until years later. She hid my son from me. Selena's breath caught. That's a lie. Marcus only smiled faintly, leaning back like a man confident he'd already won. The mediator shifted uncomfortably, glancing between the two sides. That's when Adrian leaned forward, his presence cutting through the tension like a blade. I've known Marcus Everett for years, Adrian said evenly. And one thing is consistent. He lies when the truth doesn't suit him. I'll provide testimony evidence, whatever it takes, to prove he abandoned Selena and Daniel. Marcus's smirk faltered. Careful, Blackwell. This isn't your fight. Adrian's tone sharpened. It became my fight the moment you targeted them. The room crackled with silent warfare. That night, Selena tucked Daniel into bed, trying to hide her trembling hands. But Daniel's small voice broke her composure. Mom, am I in trouble? Her throat ached. No, sweetheart. Why would you think that? Because Mr. Marcus said I was his, and I don't want to leave you. His lip trembled. I don't care if he's rich. I just want you. Selena's chest shattered. She pulled him into her arms, tears streaming silently. You'll never lose me. Ever. Do you hear me? Never. Adrian watched from the doorway, something breaking in him too. He vowed silently, over my dead body will Marcus win. The next day, Marcus made his move in public. He staged a press conference in one of the hotel's lounges, with reporters eager for scandal. Standing before the cameras, Marcus painted himself as a devoted father wronged by a selfish ex. All I want to be part of my son's life, he said smoothly. But I've been denied that right. I will fight for him, because every child deserves a father. Selena watched the broadcast in horror, Adrian at her side. He's poisoning the narrative, Adrian muttered, making you look like the villain. Selena pressed a hand to her mouth. If people believe him, they won't, Adrian said firmly, because I won't let them. As if summoned by fate, a woman approached them after the broadcast. She was elegant, older, with sharp eyes and a cool expression. I couldn't help overhearing, she said. You're talking about Marcus Everett? Selena frowned. Yes, do you know him? The woman's lips curved bitterly. Oh, I know him. He ruined my sister's life. Left her penniless with a child he refused to acknowledge. I've been waiting for years for him to get what he deserves. Adrian exchanged a glance with Selena, an unexpected ally, and possibly a witness. The tides, ever so slightly, had shifted. That night, Marcus stormed into Adrian's office suite, fury etched into his face. You think parading bitter ex-lovers will save her? Marcus spat. You think the world will believe she didn't use me? Adrian rose slowly, his height and calm radiating authority. I don't care about the world. I care about Daniel, and I won't let you use him as a weapon. For the first time, Marcus's mask slipped, revealing a flash of desperation beneath the arrogance. You don't understand, he hissed. Selena was mine. She'll always be mine. Adrian's eyes burned like ice. No, she was never yours. And soon, Daniel will know the truth about you two. The war was far from over. The message arrived on Selena's phone just after midnight. A single photo. Her years ago, holding Daniel as an infant, standing outside a rundown apartment complex. Her face pale, exhausted, tear-streaked. Beneath it, Marcus's message. Imagine this photo on every headline tomorrow. Single mother, desperate, unstable. Unless you give me what I want. Selena's blood ran cold. She clutched the phone so tightly her knuckles whitened. Adrian, woken by her gasp, sat up. What is it? She handed him the phone with shaking hands. His jaw tightened as he read. He's blackmailing you. Selena's voice cracked. He'll drag me through the mud until there's nothing left. Adrian's eyes burned. Then we'll burn him first. Despite Adrian's words, Selena felt herself unraveling. The The walls she had built for years crumbled under the weight of Marcus's threats. In the bathroom mirror, she stared at her reflection. Her eyes looked hollow, her skin pale. "Maybe he's right," she whispered. "Maybe Daniel would be better off with him. He has money, power, influence." Adrian's reflection appeared behind her, his presence steady, grounding. "Don't you dare finish that sentence." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I can't fight him, Adrian. He'll ruin everything." Adrian's hands came to rest gently on her shoulders. "Selena, listen to me. Daniel doesn't need money. He doesn't need power. He needs you. The woman who stayed when everyone else walked away. That's something Marcus will never understand." Her knees buckled and Adrian caught her, holding her against his chest. Later, when the storm of her tears had passed, they sat together on the balcony, the city lights sprawling beneath them. "I used to think love was weakness," Selena admitted quietly, "that it made me easy to break. But maybe the real weakness was believing Marcus when he said I wasn't enough." Adrian turned to her, his gaze unyielding. "You're more than enough. You're everything he'll never deserve." The air between them shifted, charged, fragile. Her heart pounded as his hand brushed hers, tentative but deliberate. Their eyes locked, two souls bruised by abandonment, daring to reach for something dangerous yet undeniable. Slowly, Adrian leaned in, giving her every chance to pull away. But Selena didn't. Their lips met, tentative at first, then deeper, hungrier. A kiss that tasted of pain and promise all at once. When they broke apart, breathless, Selena whispered, "What are we doing?" Adrian's voice was raw, fighting for something real. The next morning, any hope of peace was shattered. Headlines blazed across the internet. Exclusive: Blackwell CEO protecting ex-lover who hid a child. The leaked photo Marcus had threatened her with was everywhere. Selena clutching baby Daniel outside the shabby apartment. The story painted her as a manipulative woman who had trapped two powerful men, Marcus and Adrian, in her web. In the hotel lobby, whispers hissed like knives. Guests stared openly, some pitying, others judgmental. Selena's face burned with shame. He did it anyway. Adrian's hand tightened around hers. "Then he's just given us proof of his cruelty. This isn't the end, Selena. It's the beginning of his downfall." Later that evening, Adrian's legal team uncovered something Marcus hadn't counted on. Financial records, hidden accounts, evidence of bribes to bury paternity tests from other women. When Adrian laid the files before Selena, her breath caught. He has other children? Possibly, Adrian said grimly. And he's gone to extreme lengths to hide them. If this goes public, his credibility will crumble. Selena's chest swelled with a fragile mix of hope and fear. This could save us. Adrian nodded. It will, but it also makes him dangerous. Men like Marcus don't go down quietly. That night, Selena returned to her suite alone, only to find Marcus waiting inside, leaning against the window with a glass of whiskey. Her heart lurched. "How did you?" "Money opens every door," he said casually, "including yours." She backed away, her pulse racing. "Get out." Marcus's smile was slow, predatory. "You think Adrian can protect you? You think the courts care about your sob story? You're mine, Selena. You always were." Her fear gave way to fury. "I was never yours. I was your convenience. And now you're losing your grip, and it terrifies you." His eyes darkened, the mask slipping. For a moment, she saw the true Marcus. Desperate, dangerous, unraveling. "I'll destroy you before I let you in," he hissed. The door burst open then, Adrian, flanked by hotel security. "Not tonight, Marcus." The tension cracked like thunder. As security escorted Marcus out, he shouted over his shoulder, "This isn't over. You think you won, but you haven't seen what I'm capable of." Selena stood trembling, her back pressed to the wall. Adrian reached for her, his voice softer now. He won't touch you again. I swear it. Her body shook, but she leaned into him, whispering against his chest, I don't know how much more I can take. Adrian's arms tightened around her. Then let me carry the weight. And for the first time, she allowed herself to believe she wasn't alone. For 2 days after Marcus was escorted out of the hotel, Selena lived in a fragile bubble of peace. Adrian's team had tightened security, placing guards outside their suite. Daniel laughed again, chasing bubbles on the terrace. Selena almost allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, the storm was passing. Adrian had been her anchor through it all. He cooked her breakfast, walked Daniel to the hotel gardens, and stayed up late with her, their conversations lingering between laughter and whispered confessions. One night he kissed her again, slower, deeper, the kind of kiss that told her he wasn't just protecting her. He was falling for her. For the first time in years, Selena let herself believe in something fragile but real. Hope. But peace is always brief before the storm. Across the city, Marcus paced his penthouse like a predator in a cage. His reflection in the glass showed a man fraying at the edges. Unshaven, sleepless, desperate. He had underestimated Selena. He had underestimated Adrian. And worst of all, his empire was cracking. The press had started digging into his financials. Whispers about hidden accounts and silent scandals were spreading. Board members were pulling away. He had only one card left to play. If I can't control Selena, he muttered to himself, pouring another drink, then I'll take what she loves most. His eyes landed on a photograph on his desk. Daniel, wide-eyed and smiling at the wedding. Marcus's jaw tightened. He should have been mine all along. It happened so fast Selena's mind could barely process it. Daniel was playing with his toy car in the hotel courtyard, while Selena spoke briefly to a florist about arrangements. 2 security guards stood nearby, but in a flash, a black SUV screeched to the curb. Masked men jumped out. The guards reacted, but one was struck across the head, another shoved brutally aside. Selena turned at the sound of Daniel's scream. Mommy, she ran, her heart tearing from her chest. But the SUV door slammed, the tires screeched, and within seconds Daniel was gone. Selena collapsed to her knees in the courtyard, screaming so loudly it split the sky. When Adrian arrived minutes later, he found Selena clutching Daniel's toy car in her shaking hands, her face streaked with tears. They took him, she sobbed. Marcus has him. Adrian's blood boiled, his chest rising with a rage he had never felt before. I'll kill him. He pulled Selena into his arms, holding her tightly even as his own heart shattered at the sound of her cries. Security swarmed, the police were called. But Adrian knew this wasn't a random abduction. It was Marcus. Always Marcus. He grabbed his phone, his voice shaking with fury as he barked into it. Find him. Find Marcus. Now, hours later, Selena's phone buzzed. A video. Daniel sat in a chair, wide-eyed, his little hands gripping the arms. Marcus's voice came from behind the camera. He's safe. For now. But if you want to see your son again, Selena, you'll come to me. Alone. No police. No Adrian. No guards. You'll bring me what I want, a public statement clearing my name. And your word that you'll leave Adrian. You have 24 hours. The video ended with Daniel calling weakly, Mommy, before the screen went black. Selena's scream tore through the suite as she hurled the phone against the wall. Adrian caught her as she collapsed, her sobs tearing through him like blades. I can't lose him, Adrian, she gasped. I can't lose my son. Not again. Not ever. Adrian pressed his forehead to hers, his voice low but fierce. We'll get him back. I swear it. But even as he said it, fear gnawed at him. Marcus was unstable, desperate, dangerous. This wasn't just about control anymore. This was obsession. And obsession killed. That night, Selena sat in silence, staring at Daniel's empty bed. Adrian paced the room, his mind racing. Finally, he stopped, turning to her. We're not giving Marcus what he wants, but we are going to end this. Selena's hollow eyes met his. How? We use his arrogance against him. He thinks you'll come alone. We'll let him believe it. Selena's stomach twisted. You want me to walk into his trap? Adrian knelt before her, taking her hands. Not alone. I'll be there. My men will be there. But he won't see us coming. She trembled, torn between fear and determination. If he hurts Daniel... Adrian cupped her face, his voice breaking. Then he'll answer to me. In the quiet, before dawn, Selena walked to the mirror. Her face looked older, worn by grief and fear. But behind her tired eyes was something fierce. The fire of a mother who would walk through hell for her child. She whispered to her reflection, "Be brave." The same words her grandmother had once told her. Then she squared her shoulders, turned to Adrian, and said, "Let's finish this." The abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Las Vegas looked like a skeleton against the desert sky. Its broken windows gaped like missing teeth, the rusted doors groaning against the wind. Selena stood at the entrance, her heart pounding so hard it felt like a drum in her ears. Her phone buzzed with Marcus's final instructions. Inside. Alone. One wrong move and the boy suffers. Every instinct screamed to run, but a mother didn't run. She fought. Behind her, hidden in the shadows, Adrian and a small team of trusted men waited. He caught her eye briefly before she stepped inside. His expression was taut with fury and fear, but his lips shaped silent words. "I've got you." Selena swallowed hard, squared her shoulders, and entered the lion's den. The warehouse smelled of oil and rust. Echoes of her footsteps bounced off the concrete walls. Then she saw him. Marcus stood at the far end, dressed in black, a pistol glinting in his hand. And beside him, Daniel. Her son sat tied to a chair, eyes red from crying. "Mommy," he sobbed when he saw her. Selena's legs nearly gave way, but she forced herself forward, her voice breaking. "I'm here, baby. I'm here." Marcus's smile was cold, mocking. Touching reunion. Shame it had to happen like this. "Let him go, Marcus," Selena said, her voice trembling but steady. "He's a child. He doesn't belong in this." "He's my blood," Marcus snapped. "You kept him from me. You let me believe I was alone when I wasn't. You stole my son. You abandoned me." Selena's voice cracked, years of buried rage spilling free. "You left me broken, penniless, and pregnant. You don't get to call yourself his father now." Marcus's jaw twitched, his mask slipping to reveal the unstable desperation beneath. "If I can't have you, Selena, then at least I'll have him." A voice thundered across the warehouse. "No, you won't." Marcus spun, startled. From the shadows emerged Adrian, his men fanning out silently, weapons drawn. Selena gasped. He had promised to stay hidden. But she also felt a rush of relief, so powerful it made her knees weak. Adrian's gaze locked on Marcus, his eyes burning with lethal fury. "Let the boy go. Now." Marcus laughed bitterly. "Ah, the knight in shining armor. Tell me, Adrian, what she promised you. Her heart? Her body? Or is this just another conquest for the great CEO?" Adrian's voice was steel. "This isn't about me. This is about a boy who deserves safety, and a woman you've done nothing but destroy." Marcus pressed the gun closer to Daniel's head. The child whimpered, his small shoulders shaking. "Step any closer," Marcus warned, "and he dies." Selena's pulse roared in her ears. She couldn't let Daniel suffer another second. She couldn't let Marcus win. So she did the one thing Marcus didn't expect. She stepped forward, placing herself between Adrian and the gun. Her arms spread. "Take me instead," she said, her voice clear and strong despite the tremor in her chest. Marcus blinked, thrown off balance. "What? You want control? You want revenge? Then I'm right here. Let Daniel go and I'll stay. I won't fight." Behind her, Adrian's voice cracked in horror. "Selena, no." She silenced him with a glance. This was her fight. Marcus's breathing quickened, his eyes darting between her and Daniel. The gun wavered slightly in his grip. For the first time, she saw it, not power, not control, but weakness. Desperation. "You're pathetic," she whispered. "You think hurting a child makes you strong? No, Marcus. It makes you empty, and I won't let you fill that emptiness with us." Marcus roared and lunged toward her, his gun hand shaking. In that split second, Adrian moved like lightning. A shot rang out, deafening final. Marcus staggered, his eyes wide with shock. The gun clattered to the floor, sliding across the concrete. He collapsed, clutching his shoulder, groaning in rage and pain. Adrian's men rushed in, securing him as he spat curses and promises of revenge. Selena didn't hear any of it. She was already at Daniel's side, ripping the ropes from his wrists, pulling him into her arms. "Mommy," he sobbed into her neck. "I've got you," she whispered fiercely, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'll never let you go." Adrian reached him seconds later, his hand brushing Selena's back, his voice low and steady. "It's over. He'll never touch you again." The police arrived within minutes, Marcus howling as he was dragged away in cuffs. The evidence Adrian's team had gathered ensured his empire would crumble, his crimes laid bare for the world. For Selena, the world felt strangely quiet. She sat in the back of an ambulance with Daniel wrapped in a blanket, Adrian's hand clasping hers. The chaos faded around her, replaced by one overwhelming truth: they had survived. And not just survived, they had won. Weeks later, Las Vegas sparkled in the evening sun. But this time, Selena's heart was light. Marcus's trial was underway. The headlines that once painted her as desperate now lauded her bravery. She had faced her past and won. On the rooftop of Adrian's penthouse, Selena stood in a simple ivory gown, Daniel at her side in a tiny suit, holding a bouquet of wildflowers he had picked himself. Adrian waited for her at the altar, his eyes shining with something she had once believed she would never deserve: unwavering love. When she reached him, he took her hands, his voice thick. "Selena, you gave me more than love. You gave me family. And I swear, for as long as I live, I will protect you and Daniel with everything I have." Tears filled her eyes. "Adrian, you showed me that love isn't weakness. It's strength. And with you, I'm not afraid anymore." They exchanged vows as the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky painted gold and crimson. When Adrian kissed her, the world seemed to exhale, as if the storm had finally, truly passed. Later at the small reception, Daniel ran up to them, tugging Adrian's hand. "Daddy," he said shyly, testing the word for the first time. Adrian froze, emotion slamming through him. He knelt, pulling Daniel into his arms, his voice breaking. "I've waited my whole life to hear that." Selena's heart swelled as she watched them, her son safe, her heart whole, her future no longer haunted. For years, Marcus had been the shadow in her story. But now, standing in the light of Adrian's love, she finally believed in happy endings. And this time it was hers.